What's up, succulents? Okay. I overthought this intro at least 9 times before we recorded. But don't mind me, you've just tuned into Planting Thoughts, where we dig deep into the roots of human behavior and prune the weeds of mental chaos. I'm Mike.
And I'm Manon. And today, if you've ever had a 2 a.m. showdown with your own brain over whether that email sounded weird, and your brain's like, we need to talk about that one time in 8th grade when you tripped in front of the class, this episode is for you.
Before we get lost in the loops, let's do a quick highlight reel from the last episode, episode 15. We dove into some heavy, heartfelt territory, talking about grief and living with cancer.
Absolutely. What an amazing episode. Ruth Ann shared her personal story about being diagnosed with cancer and how through it all, her rock had been your dad and her church community.
It was powerful hearing how she navigated fear, hope, and the day-to-day challenges with such resilience. We also unpacked some psychological perspectives on grief, coping strategies, and tying in both theory and real-life experience.
Yeah, it really grounded the conversation in human experience and reminded us, even in the hardest moments, support and meaning can be found.
Yeah, it was a touching episode for me specifically, just because it is my stepmom, and it was kind of fun to. I noticed my dad was sitting right next to her while she was doing it, and kind of being supportive and giving her a little say this. It was kind of cute. Okay, mental gears, activate. Let's talk overthinking, formerly known as rumination or cognitive looping. Informally, that thing your brain does when it won't stop rehashing that weird thing you said in 2015.
It's that moment when you're stuck at a green light, not because of traffic, but because you're deep diving into why your coworker said, like that.
Yeah, clinically, it's often tied to this thing we call generalized anxiety disorder, which is GAD. But even outside of diagnosis, overthinking shows up as things like excessive worry, intrusive thoughts, paralysis by analysis, my personal favorite, sleep disruption, my second personal favorite, and the grand finale, regret-based time travel.
In other words, it's a full-time job with absolutely no benefits, except maybe free eye bags and a coupon for restless nights.
Yeah, and if anyone knows me and they look at pictures of me, they know that anxiety definitely causes bags under the eyes.
Yeah, sometimes you look like Uncle Fester.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So why does our brain do this? Turns out evolution is partly to blame. According to Marx and Ness, in 1994, anxiety evolved to basically over-detect danger because a false alarm was basically safer than a missed predator.
It's the better safe than saber-toothed models, but now the tiger is a typo in your text.
Honestly, I think I'd rather fight a tiger than read some of my old texts.
100%.
Yeah, they're pretty embarrassing. And then there's this thing called the amygdala, our fear processing center. When overstimulated, it triggers this thing called the default mode network, as identified by Reichel et al. In 2001. That's the part of the brain active during rest, daydreaming, and yes, mental spirals.
And studies like Etkin et al. In 2009 showed heightened amygdala and anterior cingulate cortex activity in anxious people, aka the worry network lighting up like a Christmas tree.
Yeah, and then when you add like cortisol, right? Chronic cortisol spikes into this mix, right? You get impaired neuroplasticity and weaker decision-making pathways, really. I mean, translation, your brain basically becomes a swamp of worry.
If your mind feels like it's loading 99 tabs with no Wi-Fi, you're not broken, you're wired for it, but awareness is powerful.
Yeah, true. So let's talk some of the traits that, are kind of tied in with overthinking. So not everyone overthinks in the same way, but if you're a people pleaser, a perfectionist, or a certified oversharer, you might be especially prone to overthinking.
Okay, listen, I apologized one time to the barista for ordering a muffin when I really wanted a croissant. It was all like, sorry, I didn't see the croissants. Tell me that's not neuroticism in action.
I mean, that's true, right? But I mean, somewhere out there's this barista claiming that she's met the politest person probably in the history of Starbucks or something like that. That said, you've just described a common factor in Costa and McRae's Big Five model, neuroticism. It's a key predictor, basically, of internalized anxiety and ruminative thinking.
Then there's oversharing, aka verbal overprocessing. You emotionally vent to feel better, but afterwards you replay it all on a loop like your brain's own paparazzi.
Classic Nolan Hexema theory. Oversharing equals externalized rumination. It gives momentary relief, but reinforces the mental loop.
And our old friend perfectionism. According to Fleet and Hewitt, it's closely linked to cognitive rigidity. So if you're always scanning for flaws in yourself, you'll never go offline.
Okay. So anytime that you're kind of looking for things, right, it gets stuck in the mind, right? And then it just continues
It
to
just
stay
keeps
there.
doing it over and over.
And I imagine that if you are, you have high sensitivity and conflict avoidance, right? These would round out the set. I mean, sensitive folks absorb more emotional detail, and conflict avoiders obsess over what they didn't say. Alrighty. Time to embarrass myself again, but this time by sharing my oversharing story with all of our listeners. So I like to call this story the voice message to the wrong girl, aka the day I became a walking red flag.
That's what you were, for sure.
It was 1:38 a.m. on a Friday night, the perfect time to overthink your life and trauma dump into the voice memo app. I was in my senior year in high school. I know, before smartphones were a thing and people still talked into their phones. I had just spent 2 hours pacing the room, listening to sad music, right? I mean, it was all about the sad stuff and crying, and it was crazy. I went through pictures of my crush. We'll call her Krista, but unfortunately, she had a boyfriend that looked like a model. He probably used charcoal face wash, to be honest. Although I'm not really sure charcoal face wash existed in the 1990s.
You're really dating yourself, old man.
Thanks for the support, bud. Anyway, I was deep in my feelings again. So usually when I hit an emotional pothole, I would vent to my friend Sarah. She was one of these, wise, no nonsense types who would somehow always know exactly what to say to me, especially when I'd start spiraling into why do I always fall for emotionally unavailable women territory. So naturally, I called her up and recorded a long voice note for her. We're talking 4 minutes and 27 seconds of full emotional overshare. Me explaining how I can't stop thinking about Krista, even though she's in a relationship. Me theorizing about every smile and laugh she's ever thrown my way. Me wondering if her current relationship is truly that serious. Me calling her dangerously beautiful, like I'm narrating a teen drama.
That sounds like it.
Me admitting I sometimes pretend we're dating when I cook dinner alone.
Mike, what the heck?
What? Look, I finished my message, hung up, and I threw my phone, a Nokia 101, I might add, onto the bed like I had just released a burden into the universe. Only something felt kind of off. So I checked my calls, and the person I had called wasn't Sarah.
Oh.
It was Krista.
Oh, great.
I froze. You know those scenes in horror movies where the main character opens a door and the music cuts out? That was me, staring at my phone like it had personally betrayed me. I panicked hard.
As you should.
As I should. First, I tried to figure out if there was a way to unsend the voicemail. No, too late. Voice messages don't care about your regret. Then I debated sending a follow-up call to play it cool. LOL, wrong person. Ignore that. No, there is no ha-ha big enough to cover what I said in that voice note.
No.
I basically delivered a rom-com monologue straight into the one person it wasn't meant for. She left me hanging for 2 days. Then finally, a message came through. Hey, I don't think we should be talking like this anymore. I'm in a relationship, and this makes things really complicated. Please respect that. Oof. Respectfully, I wanted to crawl under her porch and live with the raccoons. I tried to be mature. I apologized. I said I understood. I even sent a follow-up message to Sarah, the actual intended recipient, that just said, guess what I did? Followed by, don't ever let me have feelings again. Moral of the story, always double check the recipient before confessing your soul, especially at 1:38 a.m. Especially if she's dating a Calvin Klein model.
Yeah, I feel like that's some territory you should make sure is covered before you call people.
Come on, Manon. I know you've got a story.
Oh, yeah. I was pretty much born overthinking. I've struggled with anxiety since I was a little kid, and it's still something that I do to this day. There have been many times that I've laid awake thinking about things I should have said or the things I actually said. Someone cancels plans, and I immediately think that they hate me and never want to see me again. So it just always has been that way. So when I first started dating Connor, we went out on the Chattahoochee River with some of his friends. It was a big group of us, and some had brought drinks with us. So we had a big cooler full of stuff. We were all in tubes tied up together, and each we had a few guys that were in an inflatable boat.
So as we know, Inflatable boats are incredibly reliable.
And this isn't even the time we popped our massive float, and I was almost whisked away by the current.
I mean, that would have been a sight to see. This big group of people, right, trying to rescue a sinking pool float, and you just floating your way down yonder on the Chattahoochee.
Okay, back to the original story. Our buddies in the boat get pulled over by the boat police.
The boat police? On the Chattahoochee?
There was, in fact, 2 police boats.
Nice.
And they were checking everyone's coolers to make sure that there wasn't any glass, because it is, in fact, illegal to have glass of any kind on any body of water. So beach, river, lake, no glass. So when they saw the 2 glass bottles, they pulled them over.
As they, I guess, should have. I don't know. Can you actually pull someone over on a river, though?
Yes, it is not a graceful process. As we are waiting further down for them to be released from custody, someone made a comment that I should have taken the fall for someone since I don't have a college degree.
Absolutely. Because college degrees determine if you should be punished for a crime you didn't commit.
Yeah, that was what we were saying. Officer, I can assure you, the only thing I brought onto this river was sunscreen and Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, you are a Dr. Pepper nerd.
Yeah, that's how some students identify me now.
I feel like we should do like a tier list of sodas or something.
Oh, yeah, we should do a taste test.
Yeah, this is not surprising at all.
Okay, but I thought about this comment for days, weeks even. I could not get over the fact that someone thought that because I did not get a degree, that I should be in trouble for someone else having like a glass Coke bottle.
Was this a mean girl?
Yeah, she was a little mean. I won't say what her degree was, but it wasn't the same as mine. I will say this is the one time that overthinking worked in my favor. I started applying for colleges. I was immediately accepted and started taking online classes throughout the pandemic. Initially, I had not decided my major because I was, again, overthinking every decision. It took me quite a while to grapple with some fears, but eventually I moved closer to Connor to begin student teaching. So while sometimes my anxious mind leads to loops of negative thinking, there is the occasion where it results in something really cool, like becoming a history teacher and helping host a psychology podcast.
All roads lead to starting a podcast, planting thoughts. All right. Here's something not enough people talk about. I mean, we all know adults overthink, but kids, they overthink too.
Yeah, I mean, yes, around like ages 7 to 12, kids develop metacognition, thinking about thinking. Combine that with a sensitive temperament and boom, mini overthinker.
Yeah, they showed like behaviorally inhibited infants are more likely to show anxiety later. Nolan and Hexema and Seligman in 1991 linked early rumination in girls to later depression, especially when they had low parental support.
So what can grown-ups do? Model tolerance of uncertainty, schedule worry time, use metaphors, thoughts are clouds, they'll pass, introduce breath-based mindfulness, smell the flower, blow out the candle.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of that sensory sort of focus stuff that they do with people with anxiety. Yeah. And you can also check out Mind Up, Goldie Hawn's foundation. Their curriculum teaches things like emotional regulation, and they use neuroscience and mindfulness. It's really cool.
Okay, Mike, so let's talk about one of the overthinking's nosiest side effects, oversharing.
Ah, yes. Verbal confetti.
Or vomit.
When your brain's just spinning, you just let it all out on whoever's closest. The science calls it verbal overprocessing. It's basically when overthinking leaks out as information flood, often in a bid to get relief. And
here's the kicker. It actually works in the short term. Nolan Hoxhema's work on rumination shows that verbalizing can help regulate emotions in the moment.
Yeah, but here's the twist. Just like eating cake for breakfast, instant pleasure, long-term regret. Oversharing often fuels more overthinking afterwards.
I need you to be careful because cake for breakfast, that's my coping strategy. But you're spot on because the moment the words are out, the replay begins. Did I say too much? Did they judge me? Should I have left out the part about my neighbor's ferret?
To be fair, that ferret sounds like it deserved its own subplot.
It definitely did.
From neuroscience angle, oversharing can be a release valve for the amygdala, right? I mean, when you have amygdala-driven anxiety based on fear, your brain seeks social soothing. Dopamine from the connection and oxytocin from feeling heard.
But if your default mode network is already hyperactive, that post-sharing replay just keeps the rumination loop alive.
Plus, for high neuroticism personalities, shout out to Costa and McRae, the self-consciousness style is already cranked up. Oversharing turns up the volume even more.
So, what's the fix? Research suggests try labeling the urge. This is my brain wanting reassurance. Journal first, share later. Pennebaker's expressive writing studies show that writing down what you're tempted to spill can scratch the itch without the social fallout. Set conversation boundaries. You don't have to give every detail to be authentic. And that's something I need to remember.
And I mean, a little mystery is always fun in relationships too, right? I mean, with anyone, friends or otherwise. Basically, think of it like pruning a plant. Share enough to connect, but cut back so your social leaves don't drop later or droop later from regret.
And if you do overshare, remember, you're a human. The people who matter most aren't actually keeping score. Okay, toolbox time. Here are research-backed ways to break the spiral. So things like mindfulness meditation. Davidson in 2003 showed it reduces DMN overactivation. Cognitive behavioral therapy. Beck's model targets cognitive distortions like catastrophizing, thinking, and mind reading. ACT, which is acceptance and commitment. Therapy teaches you to diffuse from thoughts rather than debate them. We have exposure therapy. So facing fears is actually going to reduce that avoidance, which is it's major overthinking fuel.
Absolutely.
Schedule worry time. As per Borkovic in 1983, constrain the worry window to reduce spontaneous spiraling.
And one more. Journaling. Pennebaker's work shows that writing your thoughts down helps to externalize that process and really process those emotions.
Bonus, digital detoxes. Studies based on Kaplan's attention restoration theory show that nature can reset overloaded brains. So go outside, hug a tree, plant some thoughts.
Yeah, walk in nature. All right, succulents, time to get a little philosophical. When it comes to quieting the mental noise, Buddhist psychology or philosophy has been doing the work for over 2,500 years.
I mean, at its heart, it's mindfulness, or sati, the practice of staying present without judgment. It's basically mental decluttering. The more you can notice your thoughts without wrestling them, the less power they actually have.
Yeah, living in the moment, right? There's also this middle way, which is about avoiding extremes. Overthinking is basically an extreme mental workout, right? And Buddhism reminds us that moderation leads to less suffering.
Then we have anicca, which is impermanence. Every thought, every worry, it all changes. Clinging to them is like gripping water.
Gripping water, yeah.
There's nothing, it doesn't work.
Goes right through the fingers.
It goes right through.
Which is exactly how I feel when trying to hold on to my paycheck, to be honest. I mean, let's be real. Another concept in this philosophy is anatta, non-attachment to a fixed self. If you're not defending some rigid me, you don't have to obsess over protecting your image or rehashing every interaction.
Buddhism also talks about metta, which is loving kindness. When you treat yourself with compassion instead of criticism, overthinking softens.
Yeah. Mindfulness-based stress reduction programs, otherwise known as MBSR, they have actually been shown to really lower anxiety and rumination. And I mean, what's better than ancient wisdom meeting modern neuroscience?
Or as Thich Nhat Hanh put it, feelings come and go like clouds in a windy sky. Conscious breathing is my anchor.
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
The less you argue with your thoughts, the less they drag you under. Is that what we're hearing here?
Yes, that's basically what that kind of culminates into.
Okay.
So Buddhism is like the ultimate unsubscribe button for your brain, essentially.
Look, I need that every night when I'm going to bed. It's like, 9:30, 10 o'clock. I'm getting ready to open. It's like, I just want to push that button.
I wish.
So today we unearthed why we evolved to overthink, what fuels the spiral, how personality traits can either amplify or ground your mind, and science-backed tools, plus a little dharma for when your brain won't stop buzzing.
Whether you're a chronic replayer, a bedtime worrier, or a highly sensitive soul who overthinks text, you're not alone.
You are not alone. Hey, succulents. If this episode helped water your mind in any way, give us a little love, please.
Like, follow, and share Planting Thoughts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. 5 stars if you liked it, 5 stars if you overthought it, and if you're feeling generous, leave us a review so more overthinkers can find us.
Yeah, we want people to find us.
Yeah, we do.
But until then, stay grounded, stay curious, and keep planting those thoughts.
Bye.